Hi there, how are you doing? And welcome to another episode of Security Nuggets Podcast. I'm your host, Ashley, and as per usual, I'm very happy to see you here. Welcome. Now, today we are going to be unpacking on the topic of request for proposal, RFP. Now, we've been engaging on a series of outsourcing and procuring security services and equipment for organization. And by this point, we are assuming that an organization has outlined clear goals and objectives of what these services or equipments are, what they are intended to do for the organization, and what the organization hopes to achieve by the end of the procuring process, and also what the organization hopes to achieve when these services and equipment are implemented. How does the organization want the service or equipment when implemented? How does the organization hope that the service or equipment is going to help it in terms of achieving its goals and objectives? So we are assuming that all that has been laid out. All right, and we are good to go. And we're also assuming that by now there has been a budget that has been allocated for this purpose. The organization has been able to look at its bottom line and its outlined and approved funds that are going to be used for this particular purpose. Now, I'm excited about the topic of discussion today. That's a request for proposal, because as a security risk consultant, I've also had a bit of experience in the sales and marketing department or the business development function in the security private sector. And I know that since I'm well versed in this area, then I will be able to share some helpful insights, which you will find enlightening. So stick with me until the end of the episode, all right? So now we get into the process of request for proposal. Now, this is where an organization is ready to actually engage potential vendors out there, all right, to solicit for bids or what we call offers. So they are ready to they are ready to communicate to the public, and they're ready to communicate to potential vendors. Look, we require these services or equipments, and through our request for proposal document, we are putting it out there to the public so that potential vendors who meet those qualifications can participate in the process, okay? Now we're going to be focusing on the major areas of concern, or the major areas of focus that an organization should be looking at when it is preparing its RFP or when it is sharing its RFP with the public, okay? Now, one, transparency is very important. It's key, all right? Now, obviously, organizations do their procuring very differently, and very much this is influenced by the size of the organization, the size of the organization and the capacity of an organization, okay? For small businesses, for very small businesses, the RFP documentation and the process of procuring might be very basic and not very much engaging. And in fact, they may decide to be very target-based about the process, okay? They might decide that they're going to be initiating solicitation through very target vendors who they know, or they've done their due diligence and they know that they can engage, okay? This is for small businesses, especially private-owned organizations, okay? For public organization and for public institution, if you are a public organization or institution, then obviously you are going to be guided by what we call the procuring authority of regulation within your state, okay? This is because obviously being a public organization, you're going to be dealing with public funds, okay? And there has to be that transparency and it has to be guided by that procuring authority that is in place, depending on the state that you are in, okay? And also it aims to reduce on issues of it aims to enhance on issues of corruption, and just to make sure that the process of procuring for public organizations is very open and transparent, okay? And very fair for all. Now, whichever category you fall under as an organization, whether you're a small or medium or big organization, transparency needs to be key that drives you in the process, okay? What do we mean by transparency? We mean that our request for proposal document is supposed to be standard. It's supposed to be standardized for all potential vendors. We shouldn't have an RFP document that's different from another RFP document for the same intended purpose to different vendors. No, but we should have a standardized request for proposal documentation for all. This ensures transparency. It also ensures that every potential vendor has been awarded an equal opportunity. Again, you want to avoid issues of legal issues whereby you are being accused of an organization. You're being accused as an organization of not being fair in your process of procurement, okay? So using a standardized documentation, an RFP documentation that is standardized, ensures that we are meeting that goal of being transparent. This is where we also need to be very keen on how we want to communicate to the public. Where are we going to position our request for proposal document? Which platforms and what portals are we going to put it, okay? So that it is accessible to potential vendors, all right? Are we going to gazette it on the national newspapers? All right. Are we going to put it in the public portals, website portals for procurement? All right. Now we have them in different states. All right. In Kenya, for instance, we have these teams, and others have come up as well. Okay. So if you are a potential vendor, you know that if I want to look for potential clients, I'm going to go to teams. And under security services and equipment, I'm going to see organizations that are looking for this, for these services. Okay, so it is very important for us to be cognizant of that, because when we are leveraging on quite a number of platforms, then we are making sure that all the potential vendors are having that open and equal opportunity. And also, still under transparency and fairness, we want to make sure that the time that we are giving potential vendors to engage in the process of giving us their offers and meeting the criteria that we are requesting for in the RFP documentation, that we are giving them ample time. We are not giving them very little time. Like now we give, like for instance, as an organization, you shared an RFP document and you're telling potential vendors that they have 7 days to participate. That is so unrealistic, okay? And you're probably asking for so many things. You've put so many demands and there are so many instructions there, and you're giving them 7 days. That is very unrealistic, okay? So you're not being fair, okay? Unless you have a hidden agenda where you've already established a vendor that you already want, all right? And you're using the short notice period to make sure that very few vendors engage, so that the one you've appointed gets the contract. And unless that's your agenda, which is not supposed to be happening. I know it happens. I've seen it happen. I know it happens, okay? So unless that is the agenda you're going for, and that is very wrong because it can backfire on you, you should be able to give potential vendors ample time to engage and participate, okay? So we should be talking of 4 weeks. We should be talking of 21 days. We should be talking of nothing less than 3 weeks. Let's be realistic. because the process is engaging and there are so many demands sometimes that potential vendors need time to prepare themselves and get the required documentation, okay? Basically have everything in order, okay? So that falls under transparency, okay? We have to have a standardized request for proposal documentation that's fair and open to all. We have to make sure that we are showcasing our requests for proposal documents in public portals or public media outlets or national gazettes and newspapers where the public can see, okay, with ease, and potential vendors can see and engage, okay? And also we are giving potential vendors ample time to actually engage and participate in the process. Now, the second area of focus should be on the response process. How do we want potential vendors to engage with us as the company that is soliciting for these offers, okay? Basically, when is the deadline for presenting the offers? When are vendors supposed to provide their offers, the deadline of providing their offers, okay? That should be considered under the response process. Also, in the process of engaging and participating, are we open to communicate and engage with potential vendors in regards to some of the queries that they may have? And questions come up. Some vendors have very genuine and legit questions, and they want these questions answered so that they can be able to proceed with the process of application for this award contracts, okay? So we need to have put down a communication system whereby we are either communicating with potential vendors through an email address and we are communicating timely and responding timely, or are they able to call the respective procuring office in the organization and make inquiries and get prompt feedback, okay? Or are they allowed to make in-person visits in the organization and talk to a certain representative from the procuring department or function, where they can be able to make inquiries, get feedback, so that they can be able to move forward, all right? And we obviously need to make sure that we have that extent of, we have parameters. To what extent, as an organization, are we willing to engage and give them feedback, okay? Because a potential vendor is not going to ask you, for instance, if there was an incumbent or an existing service provider and you want to maybe make changes and have another provider on board, you know, if they ask you how much are they charging, you shouldn't give them those nitty-gritties, okay? So there should be an extent of what an organization can respond to, all right? So, but it is very important to have that open communication going because some of the inquiries are genuine, okay? So that should be under the response process, okay? Now, some services and equipment require potential vendors to come to the site and do a pre-visit or do a pre-survey so that they can be able to do their proposal, okay? And so that they can be able to establish that where the service is required, they have a presence, okay? So putting down a pre-visit or a site visit or a survey within the application process is very important. So give a date of when you can have potential vendors do pre-visits, site visits, or do site surveys. This is also very, very important for things like equipment installations, you know, because they need to be clear on the specification. Now, the third main area of focus that we should focus on and it should be very well outlined in our request for proposal documentation, is the selection criteria. The selection criteria. Basically, this means how are we going to be qualifying potential vendors to move on to the next stage of the procuring process? Okay. What do we want to see? What do they need to present to us for us to qualify them or not qualify them, all right? And what kind of ranking criteria are we using? Under selection criteria, these are the aspects we need to be looking at. We need to have a mandatory evaluation, all right? Basically, mandatory evaluations, as an organization, this is where you're asking for documentation and proof to confirm that a particular potential vendor, all right, is operating within the regulations of the state. Basically, they are regulated to be doing the business that they are doing, okay? So you're asking for proof of ownership documentations, who are the owners of the business. You're asking for business permits. You're asking for company incorporation certificates. You're asking for tax licenses because you want to make sure that the business is tax compliant within the state of operation, okay? So you basically want proof that the vendor, the potential vendor, is regulated within the area of expertise and also within the state laws and rules. It's very important, okay? So if potential vendors can qualify in that stage of providing information and they pass through the mandatory evaluation stage, then they move to the second evaluation stage, which is mostly the technical evaluation. Basically, you want a potential vendor as an organization to prove to you that they have the capacity. They have the capacity to provide the service or the equipment that you're asking for, all right? This is where you want to see them demonstrate the proficiency of their personnel, all right? The people heading their company, the people heading their departments, all right? You want to see proof of how qualified they are and what they are qualified in, all right? And sometimes organizations will even make it very clear that if for instance, you're looking for technical equipment, you'll put it very clearly that the professional within the potential vendors organization, the professional heading that technical function, we want them to have these qualifications, because when they have these qualifications, then we know as an organization that we are actually going to be dealing with a potential vendor who has the right expertise under it, okay? So we don't have to worry about the quality of work that they're going to do for us, okay? Or ongoing support that they're going to be providing for us. So this should be outlined under the technical evaluation. Still, we want to see your capacity. Like we want to see your capacity. What's your muscle like? You know, we want to see you flex your muscle. We want to see your capacity, okay? Like, how is your network? Which areas are you serving within the state of operation? Do you have more branches within big towns? Or are you just stationed within the cities? Are you up country as well? Because let's face it, the bigger the network, the bigger the network, then the bigger the presence. And as an organization, you know that if we need services if we need offsite services, then we can rely on the same potential vendor to do that for us, okay? We're also looking at the fleet availability, okay? Do they have the right vehicles for operations, all right? This also has to do with the nature of service you're looking at and the nature of equipment you're looking at. So those are things you need to ask. And you're not just asking, you also need to ask for proof, all right? So if it's vehicles, you probably need to ask for a number of logbooks, okay? If it is a branch network, you need to get that proof as well. Not just you're not just asking for feedback. Theoretically, you want proof that this is actually in existence. And as well as training, you ask this under technical evaluation, issues to do with training. Uh, what are the personnel trained on, and what are the areas of focus? And again, as an organization, because you already know what you're looking for, you can outline that the training that we need the personnel to be trained on are areas in A, B, C, D, because as an organization, you already know what you want. You've already outlined your operational requirements and your uh, performance requirements. So you already know what you're looking for. So you put it there so that the potential vendors can see what you're looking for, and they can actually confirm that, yes, they meet those requirements. Okay, so this should be under technical evaluation, right? So there's a lot that goes into the technical evaluation, all right? So what I urge organizations to do, and this is what I urge my customers to do, is to take their time to actually align the technical evaluation to their own organization. Okay, don't just copy paste an RFP from wherever, all right? Customize a technical evaluation that works for you as an organization, depending on what is it that the organization is looking for, right? Now, once a potential vendor has qualified the technical evaluation, then you get into the third and most important bit of financial evaluation. This is very important because you want to be sure that the potential vendor meets the financial capacity. They have the financial capacity and capability, right? You will ask for financial audits. You will ask for financials for the last 3 years. You want to see how the company is doing from a financial point of view, how much it's making on a monthly or on an annual basis, all right? Because if they have the financial capacity, then you don't have to worry that they don't meet that bill of being able to serve you. We want to know, as an organization, we want proof that you have the financial muscle to be able to provide us with the services and equipment that we are looking for. So yes, we are going to ask for those financials, all right? And sometimes organizations will even ask for uh, your credit qualification. How much can your bank be able to give you on credit? So sometimes you're compelled to go to your bank and get them to give you that letter of recommendation, saying that yes, this is our good client, and they have a healthy financial standing with us, and that they can qualify for this amount of money credit wise. Okay, so there's a lot that's looked at under the financial capabilities. And whereas potential vendors may provide you with the documentation to prove that they are qualified in that area, you also need to do your due diligence just to confirm that what they're presenting and the reality of the matter is actually accurate, all right? So under selection criteria, it's very important for you to have the different sites, the different types of evaluations that you're doing. And in most requests for proposal documentations, or in most, maybe some call them tenders, you'll find that we have mandatory evaluation, we have technical evaluation, and you have the financial evaluation, okay? And that is just mostly to do with the documentation presentation, okay? If a potential vendor qualifies for the three, now we can move into the next stage of due diligence. Now, this is where we are going to be confirming that the documentation that you've provided is actually accurate. You're going to dig deep into the due diligence, okay? And you're going to cover that in our next episode, all right? Now, still under the request for proposal, you may want to consider as an organization, do you need a security bid All right. Do you need the potential vendor to provide you with a security bid? All right. Now, a security bid is a monetary guarantee that you get from a potential vendor. All right. As a guarantee, all right, it protects the organization's interest. Okay. Assuming a potential vendor has provided, has engaged and participated in the procuring process and provided the documentation and said, look, we are interested. And then down the line, and you've qualified them, they drop out. All right. They drop out, and you've probably shortlisted them to up to the three. Then they say we are dropping out. Okay, that affects you as an organization, and the monetary guarantee, the security bid, protects your interest. It makes sure that potential vendors can just drop out of the process, and they need to know that if they do, then they risk losing the security bid. All right. And also, sometimes it doesn't have to do with just leaving the or dropping out of the procuring process. Sometimes it has to do with misconduct. A potential vendor might involve themselves in misconduct, all right? And by so doing, as an organization, you might be forced to drop them from the process, okay? And when you do that, they are likely to lose their security bid. So the security bid makes sure, it just makes sure that potential vendors behave themselves appropriately, all right? Because they don't want to lose or forfeit their security bid. And sometimes security bids can go up to, it can be so much. I mean, like in Kenya shillings, you can get an organization asking for a security bid of about 500,000 or 1 million. So that's a lot of money for a potential vendor to forfeit. Okay, so it just makes sure that potential vendors behave themselves, right? And it just speaks on an organization's protecting its interest, okay, in the procuring process. And that's it for today's episode. If you've liked the insights, kindly like, share, and subscribe. If you haven't done that, I'll appreciate it. And until our next episode, I've been your host, Ashley. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.